Welcome back to Switches, Tips, and Knobs, where I flip them, twist them, and poke them for my pleasure. Today, I'm going to give you a fairly biased and unfair comparison, because this is not fair. It's not really ideal to compare this pedal to that pedal, because this pedal's competitor from Digitech would be a whammy pedal. That being said, I don't have a whammy pedal. I got a drop pedal. And I got this thing. It's what was available, as opposed to this one's counterpart. Are we out of focus? Is that what's going on there? Okay, it's trying to autofocus while I'm focusing. Anyways, I'm going to do this anyway because I don't have a crap ton of money to go buy a whammy pedal and Boss's version of that pedal to do this properly. So we're going to do it improperly. Which I think makes it better because it's not as rigged or set up to be completely biased. So I'm not going to compare the pedal function to that pedal because that would be unfair. All of this is unfair. Life is unfair. But I do want to compare the drop tune function because I do find, my personal opinion is that this one does it better. Now that could totally be bias because I am kind of particular to Boss products. Grew up using Boss products, whatever. No, they did not send me this pedal. I had to acquire it on my own, and I would like for someday to be one of the first people that these things get sent to, but until then, we're just going to do it the budget way. My budget, not yours. Speaking of budget, today we're using a Solar Svart. This is a fart guitar. A Svart guitar. Oop, that's on. I'll turn that off. We're running straight into the Boss XS-100. Out of that into the drop pedal. Still on. Had that pedal for 6 months and battery's dying. We'll be right back. Well, this is not going to be a cell phone video because the camera died. Not sure exactly what happened. Showed battery warning. Changed the battery. Nothing. So here we are. Anyways, Solar fart guitar into the XS-100, into the drop pedal, into the interface, which we're using Audio Assault amp blocker with the Mr. Shawl and a Carnivore V30 IR mix, which I don't know why more people on YouTube aren't talking about Audio Assault, because their plugin is wicked, to say the least. This guitar is currently in drop C tuning, so I don't know how well these pedals are gonna fare considering that. But first, nope, stop that. First, I don't know how well that's going to pick up into the phone. this audio might just be garbage because I don't have a mic to plug into that. So we'll just have to see. And maybe someday soon I can get a new camera, because the 4 I got don't work. I guess I could GoPro stuff. Although they usually overheat anyway. Turn off on you. Okay. Onsies. Drop pedal really doesn't like chords. Also, I don't know how the other Boss pedal in this category is set up, but the drop pedal will do 7 steps, and then the 8th step is an octave from your whatever your stock tuning is. This guy does like 12. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, 12 steps to an octave. I currently have it set at 8 to try to mirror that, but it's not the same. And I don't know if the whammy pedal is set up in 12 steps, and that's why this one is, because I haven't had a whammy pedal. But that would be kind of weird if the regular pedal was 8 steps and the whammy pedal was 12. Maybe I'll try to get the Boss pedal and see how it is. But we'll keep going here. It does seem... Wow. None of this is recording. That's great. Anyways, it does seem as though 1 step down for a chord doesn't sound very happy. But 2 steps down... It's not bad. And maybe that's the secret, is like in between steps or something, it loses its character. Because like if you go back to 1, maybe it's me, because that sounds better now. Let's go to 3. And maybe the pedal just needs to warm up. And you can start to hear the latency if you like to chug, because that's where I hear it the most. You lose that pick bite. We're not quite to where it starts doing that, but Some weird artifacts going on. It's almost like the more steps you take, it loses like that gain clarity. I don't know if that's a thing, but that's what I want to call it. That bite. And most of the time, that's kind of the whole latency thing that most people are talking about. An octave. It makes it sound weird, and I'm pretty sure it sounds weird because of that latency factor, because once you get down there, it's cutting off like the first 2 or 3 milliseconds where you really hear that pick bite come through. And I don't know if that's pick bite, like if I'm using the right term for that. That just sounds good. But there's that. And I think once you go low enough, it has trouble picking out the strings. So you get a lot of muddiness, maybe. I don't know if it's the right words, but that's what I hear. Like you lose a lot of that gain profile. You're hearing like the tail end of that right there, the chugginess. So you get all of the bite and everything. And when you're an octave down with the drop pedal, you're missing like that first little portion of what you would see in your DAW as a waveform. So you don't get that really good sounding chug. You get like 2 or 3 milliseconds into that, and then you just get the tail end of it, and it doesn't sound quite right. It just sounds like a digital artifact. It also picks up some weird like background flubbiness. Could be from the Floyd springs, I'm not quite sure. But let's switch over. Let's take this. And if you have the boss pedal set to 0, turning it on, of course does nothing. We're at 3. Just to show you what I mean, we'll set the drop pedal to 4. not so much noticeable there, but it is different. Once we get further down into this one, there's 5. See, we're at 6 steps down right now on the boss pedal, and you still have a ton of that pick bite coming through. It's not chopping off the beginning because of the latency. Seven. Eight. Now, my personal preference with this one is not to go any lower than 8 steps, especially when you're already tuned to drop C. Just because beyond this 8th step, you start to get more of that latency, really. And it has a harder time picking the strings apart, I think. I don't know if I'm saying the right things, but that's the best way I can describe what I'm hearing. So, like, if you go much lower than this, it's really a one-string king, because it does its job if you only give it input from one string. If you do chords, it does start to confuse it, especially if you're high gain. I don't really have a preset on here to where I can test something clean, so I'm not going to. 9 steps. You hear that? 8 and 9, you start to get that the drop was getting on 6. But let's go back up to 8. And actually, we'll go back up to 7, because this one shows 7. And we'll do that comparison again. Just for giggles and chips. It's kind of weird that the knobs rotate, or I guess it's not really weird because it's manufacturer preference, really, but it does throw me off a little bit that one goes one direction to go further down and the other one goes the other direction. This is 8 on the drop, or octave on the drop. 8 on the Polyshifter. I do feel like the Polyshifter signal is a little cleaner. That would sound really good if that was a cleaner signal. 10 steps. You can hear that it's starting to lose that chord clarity. You're only really hearing like the outer, like the ultimate low end and ultimate high end of the chord, and everything in the middle kind of disappears. 11 steps down, almost an octave for this pedal, starting to do that digital latency thing. And we're an octave down now. We'll do that. They are both accurately an octave. I do feel like having the 3 or 4 extra steps between your natural signal and your down-tuned signal would come in handy. And like I said, I don't have a whammy pedal to compare that to see if that pedal actually has more steps in between than the drop pedal. If it does, then that's probably very comparable to this. I will say all of the whammy pedals that I found were 400 plus for the newish one, and this was only 350. And the fact that you have this screen and you can set presets is pretty cool. This pedal does a lot more than what I'm going to go into right now, just because all of those other features you can't really compare to that guy over there. I do think there is a way to make this down tune setting momentary like the other one. I just haven't figured it out yet. This thing does way more stuff than what I really wanted it to, or what I was looking to get out of it rather. But it will go down 4 octaves, which sounds awful. You can't even hear anything. I think 2 octaves. At 2 octaves, it's not really even usable as faux bass. We'll go... An octave and 6 steps would be kind of usable as a faux bass. Maybe not. If it was in standard tuning, maybe. But I still feel like that down to 8 is the sweet spot. It doesn't really take... You don't really lose all of your chord clarity at that point. Once you go beyond that, down to an octave, in between 8 steps down and an octave, it gets kind of weird sounding. Once you hit the full octave down, the first octave down, it sounds okay. I mean, you still have some of that digital latency, digital artifact weirdness that it does. But I think that's to be expected with any product like this until someone really masters how to make it instantaneous at any step down. I think it's going to be like that. Um, but yeah, that's all I got. I'm probably going to have to re-record this. I'm going to go back and watch the phone video and see what it sounds like. I shall return.